Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Online at cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich, and Selmo. And it's time to get this party started, as they say. Lots of good stuff today. A lot more baseball. We got today. We'll continue with our season preview. So today we have, I believe it's the Blue Jays and the Braves today. So that should be fun. Tomorrow.
I thought we were doing Tampa Bay today.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay and the Braves. You're right. And tomorrow we'll have the 76ers, the Phillies. Yeah, we'll have the Phillies and the Blue Jays tomorrow. And then
saving the two New York teams for Monday.
On Monday. That's right. New York. New York.
Yes.
That's right. We got to kick off the new week strong. As far as an opening rant today, Kevin Durant is set to make his Phoenix Suns debut tonight against Charlotte. I know they're on a 5-game winning streak, but talk about a soft landing. I mean, there are not 3 teams, maybe 4 teams in the whole NBA worse than this. Talk about low pressure. And that's the problem with this guy historically, is he doesn't do well with pressure. Everyone says, well, he won 2 championships. Yeah, on a team that won with him before, against him, because he choked because he couldn't deal with the pressure. And then directly after he left, they won again. So,
now granted, he got hurt.
He got hurt
in Game 5 of that series, but that's another recurring story.
But they didn't. Yeah, but they didn't win that playoff series. They won the next. Oh, you're talking about when he was in OKC.
No, Durant got hurt
in Golden State. Yeah, the Golden State, but they didn't win that series. They won.
No, they didn't.
They won the next year, or 2 years later. I'm sorry, 2 years later they won.
Right,
because Durant sat out the ensuing year with that injury, and then the next year, Golden State won. The 2 years later, because the Bucks won in between there too. So
they've proven they can win before and after
with the same roster, right? So now he needs, and the Nets did exactly nothing. They won 1 playoff series for all their troubles. So, this is legacy defining stuff for a number of people with the Suns. And it's funny and auspicious that it officially starts against a team as irrelevant as Charlotte. But so it is. But look, it's Kevin Durant. That's the biggest one. Chris Paul's legacy is very much tied into this. I don't know that Devin Booker's old enough yet and has enough cachet just yet for this to really define him. I don't think it does. But the funny part about that is I think if this is going to work, the guy that's going to lead the charge is Devin Booker. I mean, this guy is young. He's incredibly good. And this is pressure, man. I mean, look, there's nothing about the Suns that says, well, good enough. No, it's championship or bust. And this is why I don't like these mid-season acquisitions as much, because you put a whole different context on the season by doing this. I mean, before the Durant trade, there was expectations. Maybe the Suns were underachieving, but if they lost in the second round to Denver or the Clippers before this acquisition, no one would have been upset about it or surprised or whatever. It wouldn't have been a story. Now, if they lose to anybody, it's like, oh my God, how could you fail? That's where they're at now. That's a tough adjustment to make with 20 games left in the year.
Yeah, it is. They don't take into account that whoever you get in these situations, and this goes for every team, they haven't had a camp.
Nope. They
barely practice at this time of year.
Yep.
There's a lot to be said for building that chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And it's not just chemistry, but it's also rotations, and it's who's getting shots when and from where on the court. Because as much as Chris Paul is a facilitator, to be a facilitator, he needs to have the ball in his hand all the time.
Yeah.
Devin Booker, the good news for Phoenix, the one thing I think works out for them, Kevin Durant is one of the best in the NBA among great players of playing off the ball and not needing the ball in his hand for long periods of time to be effective. And Devin
Right.
Booker is one of the other best in the game at that very thing. So that's the one thing I think probably plays into Phoenix's favor more than anything else in terms of getting this going kind of quicker than maybe normal, because both of their two top guns are not guys that need the ball and have to be in rhythm and feel the defenders out. They're not James Harden, they're not Carmelo Anthony, they're not Kobe Bryant. These guys can play on the wings, catch the ball real quickly, make a move or two, and go into their shot. That's going to help because Chris Paul does need the ball, but I think he'll be able to have the ball because of that particular skill shared by Booker and Durant. I think that's a big factor for them.
As much as you say that how much of this falls on Durant in this nice soft landing,
yes,
I think it's Chris Paul.
Mm.
He has everything he needs.
Absolutely.
He has a young center who offensively is good.
Yes.
Really good. He has two wings that can do everything. Both are good. Both are underrated defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Both, as you said, don't need the ball and can get shots off. Booker's very Klay Thompson-ish in that role.
Yes.
He can catch and shoot like Klay
instantly. Yes, absolutely.
But can do a lot more.
Yep.
Or does a lot more.
Yep.
This is all on CP3.
Yep.
He has the pieces now. He can't complain like before. Blake Griffin's not good enough to be the second guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not because you weren't good enough to be the first guy.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with him. Blake Griffin wasn't good enough to be the second guy.
No, he wasn't.
But if you got Blake Griffin the ball on the break and in the right spots,
he was plenty good enough.
He was fine.
Yeah. Yep.
This is all on Chris Paul. His legacy rides on this more than the other two. Durant's legacy is already known.
Right.
He's an amazing individual player who can put up numbers with anyone, and you can't stop him.
Oh, God, no.
You just can't.
Oh, no.
He won 2 titles, but it was with help.
Yep.
Chris Paul has been there once.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't get back, I think his legacy ends there.
You know what's interesting? I don't disagree with you. And we've talked about this over the years in various contexts and at various times. For some reason, and I don't know why, maybe it's the whole point guard, love affair that so many fans seem to have, but Chris Paul gets an incredible pass on his shortcomings and failings. And I'm not so sure that even if he has the ultimate failure here, that won't continue. That won't be the case for Durant with a lot of people. He'll have his defenders because he's got a group. I know our own Dylan is one of them that will just defend him no matter what. But there's a good number of people who are in my camp on this who just view those 2 titles in Golden State as kind of cheap and not really proving anything. That's more that it's not that they don't count. Every title counts, but they don't prove to me that he's capable of leading a team. Because he just joined a team that didn't need anyone to lead them. They already did it together, and they did it again.
Right.
To me, that's where his legacy is much more in question, and I think that narrative is much more represented in the greater conversation than I believe Chris Paul's failings will be if they don't get it done here. Because for whatever reason, and I don't know why, he just gets a pass with a lot of people. And I never understood that, but it's always been the case because he's been pretty not impressive in playoffs, in deciding games over many stops in his career.
2 years ago, notwithstanding, I thought he did quite well.
He was very good 2 years ago, yes.
I also thought he won a Game 7 for the Clippers with the last second shot of all things.
Yeah,
he also lost a 7-game series up 3 games to 1.
Yep. Did he do that a couple of times?
Well, Doc did it a couple
Yeah.
times. Paul was gone by the second.
Oh, he wasn't there the second time. Okay, got it.
So the factor in that is Doc, all Doc. But people love the little guy.
Mhm.
An example here in Buffalo, when the Bills had Rob Johnson, a good quarterback, a regular sized NFL quarterback with a real good arm and
Yep.
some
I
mobility,
remember
the
Rob
fan
Johnson.
base fell in love with Doug Flutie.
Yep, I remember that.
And he played
Yep.
and won a lot of 14-10 games. But fan favorites are small.
Yes.
Chris Paul is a 6-foot guard.
Yep.
And he's a fan favorite because people also romanticize the point guard
They
position
do.
because modern point guards don't play the way Chris Paul does.
Right. Right.
In fact, point guards anywhere don't play the way Chris Paul does anymore.
Right. Right.
It's a different era and it's a different style of game. I'm not going to criticize one or jump all over for the other.
No, but it just is.
But that's the way it is.
Yeah. D'Angelo Russell is much more typical of the modern point guard than Chris Paul. Jalen Brunson,
Ja Morant,
Jalen Brunson, right? And
Brunson, Garland in Cleveland,
Darius Garland, of course,
a very good passer.
Yes,
but he scores.
Yes. Well, I always said when I was growing up, when I was first really getting into basketball, I didn't realize how outside the box what Phil Jackson and the Bulls and later the Lakers did with the point guard position. But as I look back on it, I realized that to me, that's the best way to have a point guard. That Phil Jackson had a point guard in Ron Harper who was big, long, and athletic, albeit damaged goods because of the knee injuries. But he was a role player at that point who could switch onto 1, 2, or 3, hit open shots, and swing the ball. And then Derek Fisher, smaller, less athletic, but healthier, was able to do a lot of the same things. Guard 1 and 2s. He could guard 3s. He wasn't as big, but he could guard 1 and 2. He could hit open shots. You could trust him with a clutch shot, and he knew how to run the offense. And
he moved the ball.
Moved the ball, and you created your motion off of the multifaceted skill of a large guard or wing or small forward. To me, that is the recipe for success. A point guard of Chris Paul's type. I think there's a reason John Stockton never won. I think there's a reason Chris Paul hasn't won. I think there's a reason that realistically, the only time in NBA history where the best player was a point guard, well, there's two on a dynasty team, Isaiah Thomas, but the second one, Magic Johnson, hardly counts because he's damn near 6'10". You know what I mean? So he's an exception to the rule. But that's it. And I think that's always been my contention is I don't want one of my best players to be a quote unquote pass first conventional point guard. I don't want that. I don't think it's that important, especially now with the space and pace and the positionless basketball and the fact that I was telling this to someone the other day. I think the most radical revolution in the NBA in terms of the skill level has not been the shooting. That everyone talks about that, but to me, it's been the fact that anyone that you send a double team to now is capable of passing out of it almost instinctually. And that makes double teaming basically obsolete. You can't do it because the way a double team works is you have to get to the guy and disrupt the play before he's able to read the defense and get the open man. And now a lot of guys are capable of taking that double team on and getting that executed in the face of a double team. So to me, with that said, I don't need a facilitator. I just get the ball to my most dynamic player, wait for the defense to react and react accordingly. I mean, that's what all the best teams do.
And all those dynamic players can score and pass.
Exactly. I mean,
Steve Kerr is, the perfect example of your Jackson. And Kerr admitted the influence.
Yep.
The offense he plays does not have a traditional point guard.
Nope.
Oh, Steph Curry can pass.
Oh, yeah.
But how many times do you see him setting the pick in the pick and rolls that Draymond Green makes the pass off of?
Right, exactly. Always.
His facilitator is a forward.
Yep, that's right.
And that's modern basketball.
Yep, it is. It is. And, you know, I think that that's why I've never been, for years and years and years, Knick fans have been screaming, we need a point guard, we need a point guard. Now they're all saying, see, we got a point guard. No, you got a small shooting guard.
Yeah.
You line up at the one because he's 6'1" and you can't put him at the 2.
Right.
But like in every aspect, yeah, Brunson can pass, like you said, but in every aspect, from a traditional position standpoint, Jalen Brunson is a 2 in everything but size. But that's modern basketball, like you just said. That's what it is, and it's been that way for some time. That's not really new. I mean, look, you had Bob Cousy way back in the day, but he wasn't the best player on the championship teams. You know, of course, it was Bill Russell. Then in the 70s, in the 60s, you had Oscar Robertson, who again, like Magic, is a bit of an anomaly because he's like 6'6" or so. But they weren't a dynasty. They won one title. He had a lot of bad teams. There's not history here to suggest that this style of player is a winning type. It's just there's you know, random seasons here or there. Okay, Walt Frazier with the Knicks, but you know, was he the best player or was Willis Reed the best player? And beyond that, that's maybe the best team in terms of having like relative balance 1 through 5. I mean,
that was a true team.
A true team. You can make a case that Dave DeBusschere was their best player, or Earl Monroe, or Walt Frazier, or Willis Reed. Like there were like 4 or 5 guys you can make a case for.
And what I liked so much about that Knicks team, not to revise history here, or go back into it, that team, Frazier was the point guard, but he wasn't a typical point guard.
Right.
He looked to score, but he also drove to the basket because he was a point guard who was 6'4". Everybody else on the floor, Monroe, Bradley, DeBusschere, and Reed, could shoot. When Reed didn't play and Jerry Lucas did, it was more pronounced. So you had a 6'4" point guard driving to the basket who could hit any one of those guys or score. And those guys all on the perimeter were such good shooters. The Knicks would have been amazing if they had a 3-point shot then. They were already part of the way back on defense. Right. That team was so balanced, they were hard to stop for that reason.
Agreed.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
No. I mean, it's true. It's a great point. So no, it's going to be interesting, but we'll see. The Kevin Durant era in Phoenix officially starts tonight against Charlotte. Okay, yay!
Unless he gets hurt in warm-ups.
Oh, geez. Oh no.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
It is amazing looking back on it that they ever thought it was a good idea to have him and Ben Simmons on the same roster. It really is incredible. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got the question of the day next. The Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
Alrighty, it's time for the question of the day.
Wilson Sporting Goods is test driving airless technology. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
You've been working hard, doing the right thing, and paying your taxes and putting your hard-earned money in the Medicare piggy bank all your life. And now it's time to break the piggy bank and get something back. Medicare. If you didn't know it, Medicare is health insurance for people over 65, and you paid for it with your tax dollars. Medicare plans now have more benefits than ever. That's good news, especially if you're like me and looking forward to paying as little as possible for good health insurance. Call and find out what Medicare plan is best for you. Save your time. It's valuable. We've already done the research for you. And in one quick phone call, you can learn how to get the best Medicare plan designed exactly for you. Hey, it's one of the most important decisions in your life. Let us help you through it. Here's our number. Call 65 Plus Medicare now at 855-301-5506. That's 855-301-5506.
Wilson has created a basketball unlike any other. The sporting goods manufacturer has employed additive engineering practices to produce the innovative new ball, and the end product is incredible. It's airless and unbreakable. The company's industrial-grade 3D printing process uses powder and lasers to produce the ball's unique lattice texture. Sports Business Journal describes the end product as a non-leather, see-through single material. The ball offers improved grip for players while maintaining the grooves present on a regulation ball. Question: are you keen on a new era basketball, or do you prefer the traditional ball?
I mean, I have to tell you, I'd like to see and feel this thing. I'm intrigued enough to see what it's like. I don't know that I love the idea of a see-through basketball. That's weird to me. Like,
Is it see-through?
they said something about it being see-through. Yeah. So
Okay, I didn't take that from that, but I might have misconstrued it. in a way.
they said see-through. It was part of the description of it, but I mean, I heard airless and indestructible, and that's all well and good. See, the problem I have with all these things is there's always this part of me that thinks the reason they're doing this is this whole like climate mafia crowd, and I don't like to support them. On its surface, I don't really, like I always said with like energy too, I don't really care what powers my car as long as it's cheap, accessible, and convenient. I don't care if it's gas, if it's natural gas, if it's solar, if it's McDonald's French fry oil. It doesn't matter to me.
The car would smell nice.
It would smell nice, but the truth is, I'm always curious about their motivations with these things. But that aside, my own suspicions aside, yeah, I would check this out. I don't know if I would like the see-through piece, but I would check this out and see what it feels like. I remember it was about 15 years ago. They tried to go with a new ball, and the players basically revolted, and they had to switch back like after like 20 games.
Yeah, but you wouldn't try this on an NBA level anyway.
Oh,
Everybody
no.
else would try it first.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying they did do that. They did change the ball in the NBA about 15 years ago, and people went crazy. So
Yeah.
I remember Steve
Well,
Nash.
players are creatures of habit too.
Yes, yes. And that's well and good. And I mean, it's
Mhm.
also one of these things that to me, like at a certain point, like leave well enough alone. I mean, there's certain things that you just don't have to like. There's a reason the wheel is basically the same thing it was like 100 years ago,
Right.
1,000 years ago. It works. Leave it alone. You know, like there's no reason to reinvent a fork. Like it does its
It
job.
better not. I'm used to this one.
You know, like there's certain things just leave them be. And
Right.
by the way, Gia, if you're still watching, epic fail on the homemade coffee today. I washed this thing before using it, and all I taste is dish soap. So,
You didn't rinse it well enough.
I guess not. I rinsed it for a long time. I guess I didn't rinse it enough though. So, epic fail. But yeah, I mean, I would check it out. I'd be curious to see it. I mean, it would be cool if this was available for purchase at like Dick's or whatever. If it wasn't like $1,000, if it was like more or less the price of a normal basketball. That's the other question I have is, what's the distribution of this going to look like, and what's the price point going to look like? I mean, is this going to be something for mass consumption that any random person that plays pickup ball on the street can go to a sporting goods store and buy for $50, $60? Or is this going to be the type of thing you have to like special order? It's going to cost a few hundred, because curiosity has its limits. I mean, because that's what you're trading on right now initially anyway, is curiosity about it, right? Like, then the market will decide if it's going to be adopted or not. But I mean, if it's going to be overpriced, the curiosity is going to be blunted by that price structure. I mean, I'm not going to buy it if it's $125 and a regular ball is $45.
Neither am I.
But if it's 60 and a regular ball is 50, I might be curious enough to spend the extra $10.
And what you say about curiosity is 100% of the reason why this intrigues me.
Yeah, exactly.
No breaking.
Yeah.
A better grip.
Right.
Lattice in.
Yeah, lattice in. Look at you.
I am trying to keep up with you, but it's hard. I really want to see it use this ball.
Absolutely. Well, you can see right through it.
Well, that's fine then.
That's something else.
Geez, remember when the little CD and cassette players came out that were see-through so everyone could see the inside of them?
I do remember that. I remember the CD players especially. I vaguely remember the cassette players. Those were still around like when I was first starting to notice the world around me. But the CD players, I definitely remember. In fact, I had a couple.
And it was cool for like the first day.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's just, does it still work? Okay.
Well, that's the problem I have with CDs, like almost always. I spent more time cleaning those things than I did listening to them. Like I always had to buy like the special like solution and the microfiber, and then remember the device you put a CD in, you spray it and then you spin it around, it's supposed to clean it. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. Whenever I think of CDs, I just think of work and misery and frustration. I was so
And then
happy.
they had the greatest marketing thing in the world, the cleaning CD, which was just a book CD put in that supposedly cleaned the CD player. Who knows if it did or not? But that's marketing, man. That's good marketing.
Yeah. Well, this was also the era of Pogs. So
yes, true.
People in the 90s weren't very discerning with their consumption.
Well, cassettes were even worse.
Oh, they were, because they'd always like fall off and you had to rewire them or whatever. Oh,
and you had to completely rewind them back in when the tape came out. Hope you didn't mess it up. Being in radio, I was fine with that because I knew how to splice tape.
Right.
But most people didn't.
Yeah, of course not. I missed the splicing of tape era.
I wasn't that great at it.
Yeah, I came in after
it worked, but
Interesting. Well, Dylan put something in the chats here. This is pretty intense. An arrest warrant has been issued for Georgia defensive tackle and potential number 1 overall pick Jalen Carter for reckless driving and racing. Stems from the January 15th crash that took the life of a teammate and staffer. Oof. Don't drive drunk, kids. Or it doesn't say he was drunk here, but reckless driving. Don't
drive stupid.
Yeah, don't be an idiot. Yeah. Yep. That's what it boils down to. Unreal. We'll keep an eye on that. There you have it. That's today's question. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll take a look at some of last night's NBA games. We'll take a look at the NHL. That'll be next. Hour 2, we'll have the top 5. We'll do our baseball. We'll do our news you can use. So that's what's on tap the rest of the way. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
And we're back on the Gary Ayd Show. I'm Rich Anselmo. Going to take a look at some NHL action from yesterday. We had a couple of games involving locals. The Minnesota Wild knocked off the New York Islanders 2-1 in a shootout. The Islanders had a 1-0 lead most of the way through, and that just didn't work out. Columbus Blue Jackets came into Buffalo, one of the worst teams in the league, and beat the Sabres 5-3, a Sabres team that needs every game as they're just sitting outside the playoffs. Friday is the NHL trade deadline, but there is stuff going on well before. We've had so many trades this week. I don't know if there's going to be a trade deadline. Who's left to trade? The New York Rangers got a proven winner yesterday in Patrick Kane. One of the all-time great players, one of the highest scoring American-born players in NHL history. Kane marks the official end of an era in Chicago. That was 3 cups in 12 years. But he's playing with Artemi Panarin again, and I think that's going to be amazing. The Edmonton Oilers got Matthias Ekholm. You know, the other day I had discussed that the New Jersey Devils got Timo Meier. Probably the 2 best teams in the league are in the East, Boston and Carolina. Both of them made small moves, but the Rangers have just gone way over. They're in it to win it, and their timeline seems to be this year. It's going to be win or bust for the Rangers. If you think about a line of Kane, Zibanejad, and Panarin, wow. And Igor Shesterkin behind them in goal. This team is loaded, and they're going to be very hard to beat. The Devils are doing the same thing. They're loading up. So while the two best teams made minor moves that are mostly sitting pat, the Rangers and the Devils are out for it. You could possibly see them in an Eastern Conference final. I would not be at all surprised. There's still 2 days to go. We had almost a dozen trades yesterday. There's still a few players in the marketplace, like Jacob Chikrin in Arizona and Erik Karlsson in San Jose. But they have, they're few and far in between. We don't have as many easy trade targets as we did. There have been at least 15 trades have gone down this week. And I am just amazed by the number this long before a deadline. Edmonton needed a defenseman and got one. The Maple Leafs picked up 2 more. Everyone is gearing up for this trade deadline. Still a handful of people left, but just not as many as there was. And it's going to be interesting to see just what happens. A lot of teams, contending teams, haven't made moves. Well, the Rangers, the Devils, and even the Islanders, who got Bo Horvat a couple of weeks ago, have invented the pre-deadline move. And they have made more and more and more. I'm looking forward to see what happens. And looking at it to see what's going on with some of these teams. Why are people not making moves? I think it's a little tough. This seems to be a seller's market, although there's no shortage of sellers. And asking prices for some players is outrageous. They are asking so much for players who aren't worth it. And how much do you really give up to trade for someone who's on an expiring contract? Do you give up a current player and a draft pick? I don't think that works. But as far as the Rangers getting Patrick Kane, slam dunks don't get much easier than this.
I even know that. I even know who he is.
The Rangers are going to be Shaq playing with a little Tykes hoop. They got an excellent offensive player for a bargain bin price. Look out, Boston and Carolina. The Rangers and Devils are pointing at you, and pointing with meaning.
There you go.
The East is loaded, my friend. I think whoever wins the East wins it all.
That seems to be the case in hockey and basketball right now.
Yeah.
Although I tell you what, the more I watch them, the more I'm impressed with Denver. I still think they could use a little bit of a banger somewhere, but
I do too.
But maybe they can bring in Dwight Howard. He's making 3-point shots in Taiwan, 15 for 15. Spot up sniper Dwight Howard. I can't even believe that. Like, but you know what? In one way I can. This is like the perfect illustration of what I always tell people about NBA players. Whatever you think a guy can and can't do, you're wrong. He can do what you think he can't do. He's just not what he does in games. Like Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is probably the least shoot capable person perceptually in like the last 25 years in the NBA since Shaq. And he's making 15 straight threes in a shooting contest. All these guys can do everything on a basketball court. Every
Have
one
you
of them.
seen any footage of him over there?
I have. He's been killing
Oh
it.
man, he's hitting bankers. I mean, he's like taking shots off the dribble.
Yeah, he's going crazy.
He's doing everything he was never allowed to do in the NBA, and I am all for it.
This is why when people say the rest of the world's catching up, this is the footage I'm going to refer them to from now on.
Yeah.
They got a ways to go, people.
The rest of the world's doing fine.
They're doing okay.
But it's like a tie for second place with some kind.
We got 40-year-old Dwight Howard, hitting fadeaways and 3-point shots. I think we're still in the lead.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I love it though. I wish he'd come back. Well, the Jokic detractors were out in force today. On socials. Mostly certain people. That's all I will say.
Mostly certain people. Okay.
Just tearing apart everything this guy does. He's got his 100th career triple-double.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaging a triple-double.
He is.
Why are you tearing apart his game to say he is not that good?
You know what else is crazy?
The game's played on both ends, you know. Yeah, it is.
Yep. He gets rebounds.
Yeah.
He starts outlet. He's an outlet pass, so he starts fast breaks. That's part of defense. That's like a defensive offensive maneuver.
It is. I know there's a segment of the population that does not want to see him win another MVP.
Mm-hmm.
My question is why, if he deserves it.
Well, I think like it did last year, I think it comes down to him and Embiid this year again. There was actually
I do too.
There was actually a comparison chart I was looking at during one of the breaks that's interesting about this. Embiid has a significant advantage in scoring, about 9 points a game. Embiid's having an incredible scoring season, averaging 33. But Jokic leads in most other things. Embiid does lead in blocks, as you'd expect. But I didn't know this. You know, Jokic, you mentioned the averaging a triple-double. That I knew. But do you know he's shooting – this doesn't even sound right. I can't even say it with a straight face. He's shooting 63% from the floor for the season?
He is.
That's insanity. That doesn't even make any sense.
It doesn't.
And
it really doesn't.
This isn't Shaq, shooting dunks. Like, he's shooting threes and jumpers and floaters and spinners and like
that floater in the lane is such a hard shot to stop.
It doesn't even look like he's trying the way he scores. Like 63%, and he's like 40% from three.
Yeah, he is not far off of being a 50, 40, 90 guy.
It's insane.
Isn't it, though?
Just absolute epic. Total epic.
And I'm here for it. I don't care if he's European.
Yeah, I don't really care.
He can play.
Yeah, I don't really care about that either.
There's a lot of, among part of the basketball community, a lot of anti-Euro hate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of that community. One thing I understand where they're coming from. I do wish there was a little bit more. I do think a lot of the homogeneousness of the current style of play in the NBA is directly traceable to the European influence. So I do think from a style and cultural standpoint, and when I say cultural, I mean cultural style of play, not anything else culturally. From that standpoint, I do wish it was more of a blend and less of just seems like one took over the other. So from that standpoint, I agree with them, but that's not going to make me root against a specific player. I do think, though, that we could stand to have a little bit more American influence in the style of play across the league. I do agree.
I think we do. We have a lot.
Where?
You don't think there's American influence in the style of play?
Not really. I see all European style basketball for the most part. Space and pace, positionless basketball, lots of 3-point shooting. Yeah, I see that.
There's low post play. There are fast breaks. I mean, John Morant's as American as it gets.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Morant definitely is.
I mean, why isn't anyone worried about American players going over there and destroying their basketball? I just think it's a stupid argument. It's a global game. Let it go and accept it. Don't hate a guy because he's European or Caucasian
That
or
I agree
anything
with.
else.
That I agree with 100%. I'm just saying from the bigger picture, I do believe we have and this happens in every sport all the time. We go too far one way, then there's a market correction. Typically we'll go too far back another way. It's the sports seesaw, I call it. And it's just, this happens in every sport. Baseball's done it the last few years, have gone so crazy with home runs and strikeouts. Now we're getting in rule changes to try to reel that in, and maybe it'll go too far another way at some point. We'll have to do something else. That's the nature of sports. I'm saying we're in a cycle right now where I think the game is too stylistically one way, and I trace that way to the heavy European influence. So I think we just need to consciously sprinkle in the antidote to that to bring it more in balance. That had nothing to do with Jokic himself. He's just a cog in the wheel, so to speak. But I do believe that, but they don't. The crowd you're talking about doesn't articulate it that way. They articulate it as just like, hating on whoever the better player is at the moment, which right now is Jokic. He's amazing though. I mean, the thing about him is like, he's a guy that you have to guard 90 feet because he's just so dynamic. He's a passer, he's a rebounder, a shooter, he's a shot creator. The guy's amazing.
He brings the ball up, for crying out loud.
Well, he's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, the complete obsoleteness of a, quote, traditional point guard. If I got a center that's every bit as good a facilitator as any other guard, why would I need a point guard? And I get he's one of one. I understand he's not the norm, but still.
Well, there's a few of them out there. Sabonis is a great passer.
Yeah, well, like father, like son with that one.
Yeah, Embiid's an excellent.
I was just gonna say Embiid really can pass too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I actually like that because you don't know where it's going to come from. With a traditional point guard, you always know where it's going to come from.
Right.
This way, it's more difficult to stop.
Yep. That's a fact.
But yeah, I have never made a big deal out of that. Oh, this person's European. This person's from here. This person's from there. Can you play?
Yeah. No, that I agree with 1,000%. Ultimately, that's what it boils down to. But
and for every Nicholas Skittish Veely,
oh God,
that gets drafted high and is a waste, there's a Greg Oden.
Yep. Well, I mean that's almost unfair because obviously up until 20 years ago it was all one way. So I mean you could pull up a million American busts because there's just been more players. But I understand.
A bust is a bust.
Yeah, but I mean you can't illustrate that as a reason one's better than the other. I personally I think stylistically we need a more of a blend. I think John Morant's a good example. Hopefully he's able to sort of usher in more of that style again. I think he's like Jokic. I think they're both such unique talents that they're not easily duplicatable. See, the problem with Curry was that the thing he did principally well, shoot the ball from deep, everyone can do, like physically do. They just can't do it well, which is why Mark Jackson got in trouble for saying this, but he was absolutely right. It ruined a lot of the game because it's easy. Anyone can pick up and chuck the ball from 30 feet. You're just not going to make it. And it's not a good thing for you to do. See,
and you can see it. I mean, Trae Young modeled his game after
100%. But then
he can't shoot like that
if you don't
not
have
consistently.
Right. But if you don't have a 60-inch vertical, you can't try to beat John Morant.
Right.
So no one does it because you can't. You either can do that or you can't. And Jokic.
But see, to me, that those two guys are style gentrification. And I throw Embiid in there too. He's not American.
Yeah, not.
But he plays the game.
Yep.
He plays the game with a great combination of both styles.
Yeah, he does. Yep. Yeah, I like Embiid's game a lot.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. And the thing I like about him, which kind of gives he's gotten a little away from this over the years, which I guess is probably a smart decision, but I don't know that it's good for the game in a sense. I like the fact that he trolls people on Twitter and talks junk publicly. I think that's wonderful. We need a little of that in the sports world at all times. Like someone's got to be the loudmouth. I mean, there's always got to be at least one or two. Morant and Embiid are the two guys in the league that do that right now.
Embiid has cut back on it,
He
which
has.
fortunately for him is good.
Like, yeah, I mean, I understand why he did, but personally, I'm bummed.
His own father told him to.
Yeah, and look, I
It's like,
understand
dude,
it.
back off, get better.
I understand it, but
And
I'm
he was
not,
absolutely right.
I'm not gonna say I'm happy about it. I loved that stuff. That stuff was gold because he was funny about it too. The way he trash talks is hilarious.
Oh, he was, but if you pick your spots, you're even better.
He's got a great wit. And now Morant's the one.
Oh, he does.
Oh,
he does. He's funny.
He's so funny. He's
He's
like
a great interview.
he's
too.
like Boban, but good.
Yeah.
I saw Boban in a commercial recently.
Boban's got a number of commercials out.
Oh, he's a personality. I wish he was a little bit better or more prevalent because man, he'd be at Madison Avenue gold if he was just like good.
I think he is anyway. I really do.
I think he's Madison Avenue silver. He's relevant, but he's not quite.
I don't
gold.
know. If you saw him in the third John Wick movie, it was really cool. Boban's personality just shines on a screen.
Oh, it does. He's absolutely hilarious.
He'll be great for 4 minutes at a time.
That's right. Just don't ask him to play 5.
You just got to use him 4 minutes at a
Right.
time. They don't use him at all.
Right. Yeah, they just.
And who is it? Houston? Dallas? One of them.
I think it's Dallas.
Oh, don't even get me started on them.
What do you
See,
think?
Kyrie missing the potential game winner last night?
I did.
It's going to happen, and it's not a big deal. People are making a big deal out of it. But that also proves my point is neither one of the two know which one needs to shoot.
Right. If you take enough game-winning shots, you're gonna miss a bunch of them. That's just
Jordan did.
Right. That's what it is.
And he admitted it.
Kobe did. LeBron's missed a bunch. Like it just if you're one of the great players, you're gonna have those shots a lot, and you're gonna miss a bunch of them, and you're gonna make a bunch of them. It's just what it is. I mean,
nobody comments on how many game-winning shots player X, any generic NBA player, is missing.
No one gives a crap how many times Mikal Bridges hit game-winning shots.
Right.
And
if he ever has.
Nothing against Mikal Bridges. He's an excellent player, but he's not one of them guys. You're not drawing up an end-of-game play for him when you have, well, maybe the Nets are now because who else are going to go to? But that's a different story.
True.
I mean, the Nets are an interesting group, but yeah, you know what I mean. So anyway, it's good stuff. It really is. What did you make of the Quinn Snyder hire by Atlanta? I mean, good for them.
I think it's a good one.
You think it's a good fit for him? I mean, that's a weird situation to walk into if you're him.
I think I do. I think he's going to take control. And if Trae Young doesn't go along, second time, it's not the coach's fault.
Yep.
And they gave him a nice long-term contract.
Yeah, Snyder, they did. Yeah, was it 4 or 5 years? I think
5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Young better fall in line because he needs to.
Yeah.
I would love to buy Trae Young's talent for what he thinks it's worth. And then sell.
You mean buy for what it's really worth?
Buy for what it's worth and sell for what he thinks it's worth.
You don't want to buy it for what he thinks it's worth. You'll never get your money back.
Buy it for what it's worth and sell it for what he thinks it's worth, and I can stop working.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, man, that's funny. Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to do that the other way. Yeah, that makes sense. No, it's good stuff. I mean, look, we're heading into the home stretch of the NBA regular season. We got baseball around the corner. It's that transitional time of year seasonally. It's always an interesting time of the year as a sports fan. The one thing that I think is going to be interesting to watch is you have the Dallas Mavericks adjusting to each other. Now you're going to have the Suns. You had the Lakers, now the LeBron thing. There's a lot of storylines to follow the rest of the way. It's pretty cool stuff. Lakers lost a tough one yesterday.
You know, they lost to a better team, obviously,
Yep.
without LeBron, and they needed AD to step up in the fourth quarter. He had numbers, but where was he in the last 5 minutes of that game? He played like someone who was 6'1" instead of 6'11". And I cannot figure out why this still happens. They needed him to be a superstar. I hate to say it, but he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
He was good.
Yep.
But guess what? I don't care if you're good in the second quarter. I care if you're in a game against a really good team without a generational player and you don't come to play when the time comes.
See, this is why I think, and I'm happy that he's performing well in Taiwan. I think Dwight Howard was absolutely shafted out of a top 75 slot, and specifically by Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is nowhere near as accomplished a player as Dwight Howard is. He's just not. Now,
No.
Howard's been in the league a lot longer. I know that. But the truth is, Howard's prime, and this isn't always the way usually I'm the opposite. I'm the longevity guy. But to make another style of argument for a change, Howard's peak, what he produced and what he represented at his best was a generational player. Davis has never been that. He's a generational talent.
Yes.
He has generational ability, but it's not applied in a way that leads to production. Anthony Davis basically is a losing player. I mean, all those years as he was in New Orleans, there was a few years they had a pretty barren roster, but he had a lot of years we had a decent roster. I'll never say he had a championship roster, but he had rosters more than once where he didn't make the playoffs where they should have.
He had Drew Holiday in a fairly deep roster
Right.
that last year or two, and there was no excuse not to win around.
Right. So
now he had 28-19 last night with 5 blocks.
Those are good numbers.
Real good numbers. Yep. Anyone who looks at that says he had a good game. But how do you let Xavier Tillman get 18 and 11 rebounds playing almost the same minutes and get the clutch boards in the last quarter?
Xavier Tillman, the legend.
How do you let that happen?
Who is that guy?
I mean, not to mention Morant's 39-point triple-double.
Right. Well, that's really not his fault. He's not guarding Morant, but still.
No, but Morant went to the hole at will.
At will, yeah. Yeah, and that's Davis's domain, or it should be. Look, I just think Dwight Howard belonged there over Anthony Davis is what it boils down to.
I agree.
100%.
I agree.
And Dwight Howard is a very disrespected player. This guy was a monster. If you're not old enough to have watched prime Dwight Howard, this guy was a beast. I mean, this guy was so physically imposing. He was terrifying. I mean, because he was aggressive too. He wasn't one of these big muscular guys that's afraid to hurt someone. Oh no, he was afraid not to hurt someone. He was out there looking to break things. Oh, Dwight Howard, prime Dwight Howard was fun.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, you talk about a guy who could block some shots. I remember one time Dwight Howard was coming from the far side corner. Someone was driving the near side baseline. Dwight Howard jumped from right beyond the far side box there on the baseline and met the ball in the air on its upward trajectory on the opposite baseline for a block. It's just the things he used to do was he was so freaky athletically. Good for him having some success in Taiwan. All right, let's.
And I know you hate when I harp on this, but I blame the officials for that. Voight Howard, probably an extremely difficult player to ref,
Yes.
was beaten severely.
Oh, he was.
He was just hammered constantly,
Yes.
and it was not fair. That's why his back is the way it is.
Mhm.
And it just wasn't right. People got away with murder on this poor guy.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's common, unfortunately, for dominant physical bigs.
Not as much now because they move around a lot
Right,
more.
right. Yeah, it was common for people like Wilt and Howard and Shaq and
And Shaq, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and that's why I don't blame any of them for delivering punishment. I mean, everyone says Karl Malone was dirty with the elbows, and maybe he was, but Karl Malone's another one of those guys that got beat to hell because of so he did some beating back. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't blame the guy.
I don't either.
Barkley did the same thing.
But especially for Howard, he really does get disrespected far too much.
Yes.
And he is good.
Oh, he was a great player.
I think he's still an NBA contributor, and why no one has just brought him back is beyond me.
I agree. I completely agree.
And I have never seen a player, not Shaq, not anyone, get manhandled that badly, because this guy was chiseled.
Oh, he was.
I mean, he had a physique like, well, he can take it. Yeah, but the human back cannot.
Right. Yep. Well, there you go. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got the top 5. We got our baseball previews. We'll take a look at some of tonight's NBA action, and we will, of course, have our news you can use. That's what's on tap. Hour 2 around the corner. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. All righty, hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Richard Selmo, top 5 around the corner, and, of course, baseball previews, news you can use, a little NBA action as well. That's what's on tap for the hour. All right, Jack George, bring it in. Let's hit it. Here's the top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
Bingo, bango, bongo, as they say. Let's go. What do we got today?
Alabama quarterback Bryce Young.
Yes.
I mean, there have been small quarterbacks at the combine, but under 5'11" and weighing less than 190 pounds. And the experts are still saying he's probably the best quarterback at the combine. I don't know how you know that, because he's not going to throw. And if I were him, I wouldn't either. Give me your top 5 all-time draft busts that were highly lauded at the NFL combine.
Who is that dude for the Jets, the defensive tackle?
Jeff Lageman.
No, more recently. Golston, I think.
Oh, Vernon Golston.
I think that was him.
He and Lageman are on my list. That's why I thought they were both top 10 draft picks and were monsters at the combine.
Yeah, I think it was Golston. Yeah,
I think you're right.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a disaster he was. So he comes to mind right away. Another guy that comes to mind immediately, Jamarcus Russell.
Yep.
Total disaster. We could do like the top 50 with this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got a bigger list made, but yeah, not bigger than 50.
Ryan Leaf comes to mind, of course. And I don't know that it's his fault. I don't know that he was ever really given a good opportunity, but Josh Rosen recently pretty well flamed out spectacularly.
Yeah. I don't think he was. That year in Arizona was not.
Yeah, he never really gave he was never really given a real shot. I felt the same way about Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn too. I don't think either one of them ever got a real shot. But be that as it may, another big bust was, remember how amazing Bosworth wasn't?
Yeah, but I don't think that was combine driven.
No, it wasn't.
I think he's just a bust.
Yeah, he was just a bust. Well, Golston was definitely a combine warrior, and
yeah, so was Lageman.
Lageman, yep. Any of these guys that like work out really well always scare me because, like, can you play football? I mean, like, I'm sure Darren Sproles didn't work out very well, but the guy was a great football player. I'm trying to think of a few others.
I'll give you another one. Chris Henry.
The receiver?
Titans running back.
Oh, the running back. Yes. Okay.
He never had like more than 600 yards at Arizona, but he had a great combine workout. He was big, and he had a 4.4 time. Well, he got drafted, played in 11 games in 4 years, and had about maybe a little over 100 yards.
Yeah, these workout warriors, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Remember Aaron Curry, the linebacker, the Seahawks drafted with the 4th pick?
Oh, he was such a bust.
He was elite with that combine. 37-inch vertical, a 4.5 40.
Yeah, he couldn't play a lick.
In 4 years, he was out of the league.
Who was that defensive back a few years ago that had like a crazy workout, and I don't even think he's in the league anymore. I think it was maybe Texas drafted him. I have to look it up, but yeah, I mean, Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell really comes to mind.
And Russell was at the combine.
Yes.
Remember Matt Jones, the big receiver
Oh,
Jacksonville
yes.
drafted?
Yes, I do.
He was a
played few
quarterback
years.
and he ran a
Yes.
4.40.
He played a few years.
He did.
Yep.
He played 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Roddy White was on the board, and so was Aaron Rodgers.
Oops.
Jacksonville took Matt Jones.
Whoopsies. Minor mistake. What about?
Remember Mike Mamula,
I don't even remember him. No.
a
Mike?
defensive end
Yeah.
for the Eagles? He was another workout warrior, and he had like a 39-inch vertical, 4.5 as a defensive end. He had more bench presses than Tony Baselli. And yet the Eagles trade up to number 7 to draft him.
You know what this tells me?
With that pick they traded up to get, the Tampa Bay took Warren Sapp.
Oops. You know what this tells me? It tells me the hell with working out. I want to be, when I grow up, just like Vince Wilfork. I'm going to be fat. Just in the way. I never lifted a weight in my life. I'm enormous. I eat everything, and I eat people too, because you can't get around me because I'm huge.
Yeah.
That's it. The hell with working out. Just eat chicken.
But there are so many of these combine guys.
Yeah, they really are.
I mean, Vernon Golston is probably a top.
Yeah, I think so.
Of everything you'll see.
I think so.
Geez, going back a little bit, I remember who was the offensive tackle that went so high and couldn't do anything. Tony Mandarich.
Oh, Mandarich. That's the guy I said Bosworth. I meant Mandarich. That's the guy I was trying to think of before. Yes, Tony Mandarich.
Oh my God, he was awful.
Yeah, he couldn't play at all. Yeah, he couldn't play at all. Yep, that was the name. Yeah, this is a good list. Yeah, I agree. If I'm gonna put these in order real quick, Vernon Golston has to be the top of the list because I don't think he registered a sack in his entire career. He did anything. Like,
no, he didn't.
Nothing.
I'm trying to think of that DB.
Yeah, there was a defensive back who was like really quite a workout guy who just totally like fell on his face. I
wonder who that is.
Yeah, we'd have to look it up.
Geez, Darius Hayward Bay. Somebody wasted a second-round pick on him.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. Let's see here. Oh, remember Achilles Smith? There's another good one.
Yeah. Remember Mitch Petrus, the guy the Giants drafted?
Oh, God, what a mess. Charles Rogers is another one.
Yes.
The receiver the Lions drafted. That's another good one.
Yeah, the Lions were in that spurt where they drafted every wide receiver out there.
Yes.
Were you thinking of Taylor Mays?
Yes, the hard-hitting safety from USC. Yes, that's the guy. Because he was like, you know, like a sledgehammer in college, and everyone was all pumped up about him. And he comes in the NFL, and he can't do anything.
He had 1 year in San Francisco, and they sent him off to Cincinnati for nothing.
Yep, and that was the end of that.
And after that, he was gone.
Yep. Yeah, that was the guy. Thank you. Yeah, Taylor Mays. Yeah, they're from USC. That was the guy. Yep. Absolutely.
He's
it's like I knew there was a defensive back. I couldn't think of that's who it was. That's the guy. Yep. Oof. I remember being all excited about him too. Like he had me fooled. I was like, you know, because I watched him a little bit in college and he used to blow people up. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy. And then when the Niners drafted him, I was like, oh, baby, awesome. And oh, he stunk. I was like, oh, man. Oh, he was terrible. All right. So putting this list together.
I mean, Broderick Bunkley. I remember a lot of guys that were great at the combine.
Broderick
but bums. Tim Tebow.
Yep.
Had a great combine because he had a strong arm and was mobile.
Yep. Problem is he didn't know where he was throwing the ball.
Right.
I remember when Tebow was during his draft year, I remember the analysis I was consistently hearing is they just have to teach him how to throw. And I was like, wait, he's a quarterback getting drafted into the NFL. He has to learn how to throw. I think that's bad. That's usually should come pre-programmed for that. No, it's like buying. That's like buying a charger, and you have to make sure it works with electrical outlets. Like, no, it's kind of supposed to just do that out of the box, right? Like, oh man, yeah. Vernon Golston tops my list. I think Jamarcus Russell is number 2. Those two are 1 and 1A for me. Because Jamarcus Russell, people were talking about how he could throw 50 yards from his knees and 80 yards in the air and blah blah blah. It's like, great, awesome. Can he play? Nope. So those are 1 and 2. One name I want to include here. He's not going to be on my final list because he's a very different. You can hardly call him a bust because he had a pretty reasonably successful NFL career, long NFL career. But in the context of where he was drafted and who was in his class, I think he fits this conversation. And that's Alex Smith. Because if you remember, going into the draft, Aaron Rodgers was considered the better quarterback. And all of a sudden in the combine, everyone got boohoo crazy about Alex Smith. And clearly that was not the right decision.
Right.
So in that context.
Yeah, but just about every team felt it was at that time.
Well, that's what I mean. But the combine had a lot of influence in making those teams reach that decision unanimously or mostly unanimously. So for that one reason, he's worth a mention in this conversation because he fits the technical definition of the question. And
right.
So I just wanted to bring that up. But getting back to the rank here, definitely Golston was 1. Definitely Russell was 2. Man, Charles Rogers stunk. The dude was.
Yeah,
he was horrible. And and the thing is, I think he was actually good. I think he had the ability to be a really good receiver, and he was too concerned about weed, which is unfortunate. Tony Mandarich goes on here at number 4 for sure.
Yeah,
he was a total train wreck. That was the guy I was trying to think of before when I said Bosworth. And then a couple others here. You know what? Tim Tebow's a good one because he did have a good workout, but he had more going for him than that. I'm gonna go with Taylor Mays at number 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's me personally. I'm gonna go him at number 5. So my top 5. 1 is Vernon Golston. 2 is Jamarcus Russell. 3, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna move up to 4. I'm gonna move the Mandarich pick up to 3 from 4. And number 4, I'm gonna stick with oh God, who did I say it for before? Because I got Taylor Mays. Now I'm drawing a blank on the last one I selected. Charles Rogers. There we go. So Charles Rogers is going 4, and then Taylor Mays is 5. There we go. All
Interesting.
Right. Yes. A lot of names on that list.
Oh, yeah. A lot more than Mike Mamula amazed me.
Mike Mamula.
He was a defensive. He's one of these prototype defensive end outside linebacker types that are more prevalent now. His workouts at the combine, he played at Boston College. His workouts at the combine were massive. A guy that big, and he went about 255, running a sub 4.4 and bench pressing like almost 40 times.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
And he showed agility. He just never knew where to be and never made an impact. And a few years later, he's gone. The Eagles took him with the 5th pick.
Mm.
5th.
Ouchies.
Jets did the same thing with Jeff Lageman. He was a workout warrior, and he sucked. He was there a few years, but couldn't make a play. I think he had a couple of sacks in his career. And he was a pass rusher.
Right. Not good. Not good. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do our MLB analysis. We got the Rays and we got the, what are we doing with the Braves today? There we go. Rays and Braves. That's coming up next. We'll have some NBA stuff and news you can use to wrap up the show. It's the Gary Ayd Show, back after this here in the cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All righty, we are back. And let's dive right into it. Let's go into the Tampa Bay Rays. Rich, this team wins with smoke screens and misdirection and 5 fans in the stands.
Yeah.
Why, how, and this can't possibly continue longer, can it? I mean, like,
no.
No. Doesn't talent matter at some point? I mean, like, who's on this roster anymore? I mean, Randy Arozarena, got it.
Wander Franco. He was supposed to be the next great player, the next MVP.
Yes.
Really?
Yep. They signed him to a long contract.
He was still above average last year, and he's only 21.
Yeah, he was good.
He's probably their best homegrown player, I think, since Evan Longoria.
Yep.
But is he that guy? He probably will be. But they don't have a superstar, and I'm not sure if he's going to be that guy now. I also got a question about their pitching. Remember 2 years ago, Tyler Glasnow is going to be the best pitcher in the universe.
Yes.
Really? No, he's not.
That was a glass half full assessment.
He looked like a pitcher.
Yeah, he did.
But look at some of his innings pitched: 7, 88, 57. Let's throw a 60 in there, too.
So
he's going to be 30 in August. They're counting on him to be their number 2 starter. Really?
Good luck.
How about counting on him to try to get to 100 innings?
Yeah, once or twice.
I don't think they have enough pitching. They have a decent lineup.
Yep.
But it's not deep at all.
No, it's not.
And there's not enough of it. If anything happens to Franco or Rosarena, they're dead. Because their pitching's not going to bail them out. That's why I feel they can be in the basement if the Red Sox are not.
Yeah, like I said yesterday, I think in that AL East, there's 3 teams that I think could find themselves in the basement depending how things shake out. It's the Rays, it's the Red Sox, and it's the Orioles. Any of the 3, I would, if I was going to handicap it, I would say I'm most confident in the Rays to not be in the basement just because in their last 10, 15 years, they always find a way to be at least serviceable. So I don't see why.
Past history. You're only as good as your next game.
Yeah, but past history is a good indicator of what you may be able to do based on your organization's structure. And because the thing with the Rays is that history is derived from very systematic approaches that are still in place. I'm probably next most confident in Baltimore just because of their young talent, but that is counterbalanced by their just penchant for not playing well over the course of many decades. So, but if I'm going to put this in order, I'll say I think the Rays are third. I'll say the Orioles are fourth, and I'll put the Red Sox in the basement because I really don't like their talent. But the thing with the thing that this gives me concern is I think the Red Sox could at any point wake up and decide, oh man, we're terrible. We need to do something and go buy a major player. Neither of the other two teams is going to do that.
Right.
So the Red Sox have that wild card that the other teams don't have.
I still have more confidence today in the Orioles roster than I do the other two.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rays.
But the Red Sox are a wild card in that.
Yeah, because they're like a sleeping giant right now. They're like the sleeping whale in Pinocchio. You just like swim by it. It wakes up. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. They're a big giant whale sleeping at the bottom of the ocean. You wake it up and now all of a sudden it wants to eat everything. So,
yeah,
the other two teams are not whales.
Right.
But yeah, so anyway, so that's the Rays. Let's go over to the National League. We'll take a look at our friends, the Atlanta Braves. Look, I've been saying this about Houston the last couple of years, and obviously it hasn't caught up to them yet, but you can't keep losing important talent and have it not matter at some point. The Braves the last couple of years have lost some good pieces. They still got some good pieces, but I thought the loss of Dansby Swanson was a big deal.
I do too. I thought Freddie Freeman the year before was big.
Well, exactly.
Dansby Swanson is going to be felt. It really is. I loved him as a player. I still do.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that's a big, big hole to fill.
Yep, I agree.
And who are you going to fill it with? The guy who's injury prone? Not going to be easy to replace.
Nope.
I think Atlanta's pitching keeps them in the race longer than any third place team in the AL East.
I agree with that.
But Philly and the Mets are just both too deep, too strong.
Yep.
And have so much more.
Yeah, I agree. I think Philly really put a scary roster together. I really do.
They did.
I think that the lack of the consummation of the Correa deal is the difference between the Mets and the Phillies this year. I think Philly is a little bit better because the Mets didn't get that one more big piece. I really think that made a big difference. But we'll get to that more tomorrow. Looking at the Braves for myself, the thing about them is they have a recent history of winning and being gamers and stepping up and finding the next man to fill a role. And that's where I believe recent history really does play into today and tomorrow, because those type of habits are exactly that. They become habits. So they have a tendency to self-perpetuate. It's the reason why even after they lost I know it's a different sport, but even after they lost all of the talent that got them there, the Spurs didn't go from championship contenders to what they are now overnight. It wasn't like a Jordan's Bulls thing where they went from the champions to a 60-loss team. They made the playoffs a few years with rosters that weren't playoff worthy based off of old habits of just grittiness and success. And I think we're going to see something similar the next couple of years with the Braves. The Braves cupboard is not bare by any means.
No.
But it's not on the same level of Philly and the Mets, but their recent history of being winners and finding ways to win games and be gamers, I think is going to keep them at a higher plane this year than their talent would otherwise allow for. So I think they're still going to be probably knocking on the door of 100 wins. I think this team's going to win 92 to 95 games. I really do. And that's what
I don't disagree. I think they're going to be probably, one of the best third place teams there is.
It's amazing how that division, you could have 3 teams that tease with 100 wins.
Yeah.
And one of them might not make the playoffs.
That's amazing.
That's crazy. So there you have it. That's the baseball preview. Good stuff there. We're getting into the juice of it now. Tomorrow we'll have the Phillies and the Blue Jays. And then Monday we'll have the Yankees and Red Sox. No show on Friday. Yankees and Mets, I'm sorry. No show on Friday. I'll be traveling, but should be a lot of fun. Good stuff. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll dive into tonight's NBA action, and then we'll close it out with some news you can use. Back after this, it's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty, we are back, and a lot of NBA action tonight. 9 games, in fact, in the association. Going through some of them. The big one, of course. Let's start locally, Rich. Knicks and Nets tonight at Madison Square Garden. This game's going to be huge.
It really will. Which streak gets broken? The Knicks winning or the Nets losing?
That's right. It's a game of streaks. Honestly, I don't see how the Nets win this game. I think the Knicks are playing at such a level right now with so much intensity. And I think Madison Square Garden is going to be an absolute raucous tonight. I think it's going to be a total zoo. I think the place is going to be absolutely insane. And I just think that extra energy is going to feed the intensity that the Knicks currently play with. I have a feeling the Nets are running into a buzzsaw tonight. I really do.
I do too. And it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see the Garden crowd like this.
This is one of those games I wish I was going to. This would be so much fun to be. This place could be nuts. It's going to be loud.
This is one of those games I wish I was going to.
Yeah, and the thing about the Nets is you look at their statistics and they're very misleading because they're basically cumulative statistics from a team they no longer have.
Right.
These Knicks.
Right. The numbers look good.
Yeah, they do. 50% from the field, 39% basically from 3, but that's not really true anymore. That was true with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
From the field, they're still shooting pretty well.
Yeah, they are. But
they're not doing anything else at that level.
So it's a very interesting matchup because the thing is, unlike when the Knicks play in Brooklyn, 2/3 of the fans are Knicks fans. 1/3 of the fans are not going to be Net fans in the Garden.
No.
Unfortunately for the Nets, they're in a perpetual road situation whenever they play the Knicks, whether it's at home or on the road. They're the road team.
True.
It's just what the dynamics of the city are right now, and probably always will be.
I don't see that changing.
No, I don't either.
I mean, if it hasn't changed through the last 20 years,
Right.
never going to.
Well, I think the Nets, their only shot at changing it was for this experiment that they just concluded with Durant and Irving to have like produced multiple titles in a short window. That might have moved the needle some, but obviously that didn't happen. And I don't know that would have done it either, but that was probably their best chance at making a dent there. But this game is going to be just electric tonight. And I definitely got the Knicks. Looking at some of the others, Lakers and OKC is interesting. Both teams missing key people. SGA out for the Thunder, and of course LeBron and Russell out for the Lakers. So this game could be, again, Anthony Davis.
Whoever plays defense first.
That's right. Don't be allergic.
Okay. If anyone decides to play it at all.
That's right.
And I'd like to see Davis step up.
Yeah, I would too.
He needs to.
Yes, agreed. Anything else here jump out?
Yeah. Cleveland at Boston. Celtics have taken a step back. They always seem to manage to take a step forward afterwards.
Yes.
The Cavs have been a little up and down. This is a nice national television game. I wish it was the Knicks and the Nets. But this is nice. It's two good teams going at it. The Cavs have been in this little bit of a funk lately, but they're doing enough to win games. Will it be enough against the Celtics? Is my question.
Well, they've owned the Celtics so far this year, which is interesting. Because they were like, 2-0 going into this game against Boston this year, aren't they?
Right, they are.
Yep.
But this Celtics team, like I said, has been going up and down. They've gone a little down. I think that uptick's going to happen.
Yeah. So you think Boston ends that 2-game losing streak to Cleveland tonight, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's going to be a really good game.
I agree.
I like the Philly-Miami game.
Yep. One last thing before we break that game down about the Boston and Cleveland matchup. I think that would be a wonderful playoff series, like a second round playoff series.
So do I.
I think those teams play good basketball when they get together. I think both teams are fun to watch.
They really do, and both teams are extremely fun to watch. And it's going to be nice to see some meaningful basketball in Cleveland.
Yes. Yep.
And I hope it at least goes 2 rounds because the city needs it and the NBA needs it.
Well, because Cleveland is what right now in the standings? They fifth?
They're there.
Are they fifth?
Are they fourth or fifth? Let me take a look. No, I do this by Cleveland's fourth in the standings in the East.
So they would be playing the
Bucks in the first round.
Well, no, the Bucks are the 1 seed right now.
Yeah.
No.
Well, once 7 through 10 get done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right. The Bucks would be.
They'll be playing the lowest seed of the play-in tournament.
And the second team, Boston, will be playing the next lowest.
So it'll be the 4-5 matchup. So who's fifth right now?
Cleveland and the Knicks.
Ooh, that would be a great matchup too.
It would. It would also be Philly, Brooklyn, and that's
not good for Brooklyn.
Although I think the Heat can pass them.
Yeah, because the Heat are playing pretty well, which leads us to our transition. Let's talk about that game real quick. Philly and Miami.
They've been hot.
Yep. Miami has turned up the heat. Ha ha.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man, it took you an hour and a half to do better than the Lattice line.
I'm telling you, I'm slacking today.
Yeah, we're both stepping up our game.
That's right.
Yeah, they are. The trade deadline wasn't huge for them when everyone thought it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows when Kyle Lowry is coming back. When he does, and that could be soon, he's going to be rested.
Yeah, he definitely will be rested.
And that'll mean a lot. I think this Heat team can make a little noise. I think it's tough tonight against Philly. They always seem to defend the Sixers well, despite not having an answer for Embiid at all.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Embiid is
But who does?
yeah, no one has a real answer for him. I guess, like, a couple teams can sort of do a few things, but yeah, it's the thing about Philly that impresses me is for the first time in his whole career, I've been truly impressed by James Harden this year. He's playing a really efficient, really good role as a second guy and distributor, and he's doing it very well, and he's competing on defense. This version of James Harden is the best version of him I've ever seen, and I give him a lot of credit. He's looked really, really good. And this is a guy I've been heavily critical of for a lot of years. But he was playing that fake D'Antoni approach, and now he's not. So
right.
One other thing I'll say about Harden is I think for the first time in a while, he also feels he's on a team that if he does the best he can, has a chance of winning at the highest level, which is that's all he's got left to do, right? I mean, he's done everything else.
Right.
So that's a good game. And the one other game on this one, of course, we talked about Phoenix and Charlotte, only significant because it's Durant's debut with the team. One other game that I'm going to keep a close eye on, I'm not going to watch, but I'm going to look at the score, is Orlando and Milwaukee. Orlando is one of these teams, and we've said it before, they're like weirdly good at making games that shouldn't be close. Like, they're a bad team that always seems to give good teams like fits for chunks of games.
And they're only 10 games under 500. Would you have expected that?
No, and I think Banchero has a lot to do with it. The guy's been a staple from the very beginning.
And it's good to see a top pick work for them, because
Yes.
it sure didn't. It hasn't with Suggs so far.
No, Suggs has been a disappointment, and he's been a disappointment to me too. I was a big fan of his in college. I thought it was too. I thought it was gonna be the real deal. I really did. But nope.
Another game tonight I've got marked here. Pelicans at Portland. Portland had an epic collapse last night. They were handling the Warriors through the whole game. Then the Warriors came out in the fourth quarter and said, "This is Portland." Without Simons or Nurkic, what are we doing?
Yeah, why are we losing to these guys? Right.
And they were losing. It was double digits in the third quarter. And Portland doesn't play much defense. The Pelicans are a train wreck. And now it was going to be in my news you can use, but I'll start with this. Now the timeline for Zion is unknown.
Yep.
Supposed to be back in a week, supposed to be back in maybe 2. Well, guess what? Now they have no idea when he's going to come back.
Yeah, bad news. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back.
Before we do that, the final last night in that game was Warriors 123, Portland 105. Portland had a 20-point lead, or over 20-point lead at halftime. The Warriors outscored them, and this is from late third quarter on. The Warriors outscored them 39-17 in the third and 36-23 in the fourth.
Jeez.
Ouch.
Ouchies is right. Well, that's called a collapse. That's what we call that. All right, let's take a break.
Yes.
We'll come back. We will do it. News you can use to wrap up the show. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you. With the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right, we're back, and it's time to close out the show with some news you can use. What do we got today, Rich?
A lot of NFL stuff.
Okay.
Some major cuts. The Titans cut offensive tackle Taylor Lewan. And how cold the NFL can be. The Titans dropped off his stuff in a trash bag after 9 years there.
Man.
Then, which is lousy.
That is.
But then Mike Vrabel doesn't shut down the door on him returning. Vrabel said, I wish him the best. I told him, we'll see where you're at later. And if you still want to play, if it sounds like you do, we can revisit that. But those are not conversations we're having right now. Well, after what you just did to him, I hope he's not there for you. In 9 seasons, he allowed 28 sacks, about 3 a year, and under 19 pressures. This guy still can play offensive tackle, and I think someone's going to snag him right away.
Oh, yeah. You would think so.
In fact, they better.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, you would definitely think so.
Yeah.
What about the move to remove I saw what was it? There was another NFL personnel move. Someone else got ditched. Oh, I think it was who was it?
Leonard Fournette.
That's it. That the running back. Yes. Yep. Leonard Fournette from Tampa. Yep. He got let go for pretty meager salary cap relief. I mean, it was what, a couple $1 million, $3 million or something.
Yeah, but there's a young player that filled in a lot for him last year that's really, really being counted on, and they like a lot. The Commanders used the first franchise tag, Darren Payne, the defensive tackle. And the Eagles hired their offensive and defensive coordinators. They promoted their quarterback coach Brian Johnson to OC and took the Seahawks associate head coach Sean Desai as their defensive coordinator. And it isn't a day if there's not Daniel Snyder news.
That's right. They're trying to boot him again.
Another scandal. This one involves Goodell, millions of dollars, and allegedly financial fraud. In 2018, Snyder took out a $55 million loan without the required approval of then minority owners of the Commanders. Snyder ended up buying the 3 of them out in 2020. But the three guys demanded an investigation because Goodell, who granted league approval for the loan, nor the NFL decided to investigate.
Now, my question with this, I read this story. The one thing I didn't understand, and to me it makes all the difference whether this suit makes sense or not, is are those three guys, because that loan's been paid back.
Yes.
Were they ever financially involved in paying that back, or did they suffer any financial damages from that loan being taken out and then paid back? Because if the answer to those questions is no, then we're basically crying over formalities here.
Right. And I think the answer is no. They got bought out.
Right.
They were compensated fairly.
And they were never asked to pay interest or anything on that loan that they never approved.
Not that I have seen.
Right. Because if that's the case, which is my understanding, then what are we talking about here? Like, who cares?
Well, the federal grand jury issued subpoenas for the team's financial documents, and the loan is a key part of it. And this is, FBI and IRS just going nuts all over anything. The former minority owners told the NFL the loan had been secured fraudulently, and Snyder had misrepresented that he never got the minority owner's approval.
So it's fraudulent because he didn't get their approval? Is that the only? Because
yes,
it's not hard to believe a man of Daniel Snyder's worth can get a $55 million loan whenever he feels like it.
Right.
Like,
now, also in the report, Snyder paid himself $10 million a year.
Okay.
And charged the franchise $4.5 million to put the team logo on his private jet.
Nice.
As
nice
advertising fee.
Nice.
This man is a boss. I love him.
I mean, all this stuff is like, I don't know, like
it's a lot of sour grapes.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like people don't like him, so they're trying to give him a hard time. Because like none of this sounds like he did any nothing like here sounds fraud or like money laundering or criminal to me.
Apparently he's supposed to get their approval.
Okay, fine. So he didn't dot an I. But like he paid the loan back. They never paid for it, and now he bought them out. So like, who cares?
And the three minority owners said Snyder was using the team as his, quote, personal piggy bank.
Well,
I think it more sounds like sour grapes.
Oh, it sounds like sour grapes. And you know what? Even if he's using the team in his personal piggy bank, it's his, right? Like,
right.
So like effectively, it's like moving money from one checking account to the other on a grand scale. I mean, like the thing he did with the plane, for example. Like, okay, so he charged the team, which he owns, to pay one of his other companies, which he also owns, to do a service. So like
an advertising fee. I love it.
So he moved his phone from his left pocket to his right pocket. Like,
right.
Who cares? Like, why is that a big deal?
But potentially acting as a rogue agent is a big deal.
Okay, so
the government sees it as a big deal, him not getting that permission. But the thing is, why isn't Goodell being held? He got Goodell's permission.
Right.
Why is it just Dan Snyder? Well, you know why.
Yeah, well, the league was aware of this loan and decided to go for it anyway. Whatever. It's just, like you said, it's sour grapes.
It is. One more quick one. Right. Gavin Lux out for the year for the Dodgers with an ACL injury. That hurts a lot.
It does. All right. Well, that will do it for the show today. We will be back tomorrow, 10 to noon. No show Friday. So we'll be back tomorrow. Looking forward to it then. Until then, enjoy the games. We'll see you then. The Gary